I wouldn't say I love myself. I would say I'm loving myself. You
I
know,
love
it's
that.
it's an action, and every day you get to choose that action.
Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. We're back today with another episode of
The Wind Down.
First, let me introduce my lovely guest that you see here next to me. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Zhai. Nice to meet you all.
Our drink of choice is some Daesan soju. Okay. Ooh. Our topic today is a very important one. Today we're going to talk about self-care, self-love, and all the good stuff in between. So let's get right into it. All right, so Zhai, first thing I wanted to start us off with is when I was doing some research about today's topic, I looked up what self-love actually covers.
Okay.
And it means different things to everybody, okay?
Of course, yeah.
But the general, I guess, like Googleable
Yeah.
thing when you look it up is
Yeah.
it says there's 5 different kinds of self-love. There's physical
Okay.
self-love, emotional, mental and intellectual, social, and spiritual self-love. Taking that into consideration,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your journey with self-love.
With self-love, I'm not there yet, and I don't believe that it's at a place to be. I think it's just an ongoing thing. It's a process.
I agree.
It's a verb. It's
Yep.
an action. It's a habit. I wouldn't say I love myself. I would say I'm loving myself. You know,
love that.
it's an action, and every day you get to choose that action. So I'm sure like everyone again has gone through some depression in their adolescence and stuff. But living in a Western society, the whole idea of like self-harm is definitely more showcased in movies that we watch.
Yep.
Sometimes it's even romanticized
Yup,
to be like the emos. And I remember the school that I went to, I was hanging out with the wrong circles. There was this one girl, and she was just like, oh, like, what do you mean you don't cut? Everyone cuts.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so at a young age, I was like, oh, so every time I'm sad, I'm supposed to do this, right? And for the longest time, like during high school, I would go to that because it was normalized in movies, in the people that I hung out with. The school that I went to was full of white people.
We stay trying to make it in those white spaces. I told y'all.
It was full of like white people and not much Asians. I was just in this constant denial that I was upset. I was like, I'm not depressed. I'm just a teenager. It was just going through
who's going through the
puberty.
motions,
yeah,
like
the
the normal
motions,
one.
puberty,
Wow.
adolescence, always
Yeah.
denying and not validating myself.
Wow.
You know, if you're not validating yourself, or you're not listening to yourself, or you're not being there for yourself, then you try to go with people to be there for you, right? Right?
Yeah.
And so you seek friends, or
Yeah.
you seek companionship
Yeah.
to be there for you, but you end up in the wrong crowds, right? And you become reliant on that, and when they disappoint you, that hurts because you're not there for yourself. Then who is?
Yeah.
At that time of my life, I was very reliant on either friends or someone being there, and if they weren't, I would be like greatly disappointed. And so the person that I was reliant on, he was overseas at that time, and I guess there was some miscommunication there, and this person actually said, like, do it then. Yeah, and I did it. And then I woke up by myself in the hospital, and that was like a hard reset to my life. And it was like a second opportunity. This goes back to like the spiritual self-love. And when you wake up with just you in the hospital,
Wow.
not even your parents, not even your family, not even your friends, not even your boyfriend, you realize that you only have yourself, and you find comfort
Wow.
in being there for yourself.
Yeah.
And it might sound sad, like, oh, I woke up alone and it's just me. But you can flip that, and
That's
you're
what I
like,
was gonna say. Yeah.
my body was there for me and helped me survive that. such like trauma.
That's like really heavy. First of all, thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure this will bring like comfort to people that don't feel like they can talk about this.
Yeah, so physical, I think, is the very first thing to self-love. Because if you don't get enough sleep, if you don't eat the right food, if you don't do like some sort of daily activity, like exercise, if you don't have good hygiene, all of that will definitely translate to everything else you said on the list. And I'm sure everyone has gone through self-hatred in their teenage years and adolescence, and that's a time where we refuse to be taking care of our parents, but we don't know how to take care of ourselves physically. So that's around the time where we have energy drinks and we stay up either playing games or talking to someone on Skype.
Literally still do that, but anyway.
We barely exercise during that adolescent phase, other than PE, but I always skip that on that too.
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started. It's interesting you say that physical is the first thing you would prioritize in terms of self-love. For me, I feel like the most important one to start off with is mental, because I think that really affects your ability to love the other aspects of yourself. This is my perspective, and I think that when you're not like mentally, you can never, I guess, be in a perfect place, but like at least in the right place or grounded enough, I don't think you'll be able to work on your physical or work on things like spiritual and things like that. I think your mind is a very powerful thing, and I do believe in the power of your mind. So
but what happens then when your mind is already at a terrible place? You need to hack it, and the only way to hack your mind is to release some sort of endorphins. And so activity, whether even if you don't want to get out of bed, right, if you can just like roll and then flop on the floor and do 5 push-ups, you'll notice that your breath is different and that you've sweated out, and that you find it silly and you start laughing at yourself. You know, like you do some sort of action, whether it is actually, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm gonna go to the gym. It can just be like 5-star jumps, or like play some music and get your body moving. So as long as every part of your body is activated and communicating to each other, that's when you can go here and talk to yourself. Do you know Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
I think so.
To get to your highest self-esteem,
you
need to get your physiological self down pat. As long as you're good, like your body is good,
then your mental,
you can take the first step. So I would say physical more.
Do you think like because of those experiences though, like directly related with your body and stuff as well? I know it's obviously a huge part of it is the mental health side of things, but do you think that's why now you do prioritize your physical?
Of course, because I'm so thankful that
your body
survived. There's this saying, I swear I'm gonna get it tatted.
But
when you die before you die, you don't die when you die. Meaning, if you've already faced death, and you've gone through it, and you've gone through that experience, it's like nothing else really matters. And nothing stresses me out anymore. Like I do become stressed, like that's a human emotion. But at the end of the day, I've already experienced death.
So you're like basically
everything
else is not that deep.
Nothing is that like once you hit rock bottom, there's nowhere else but to go up, and you can come close to the bottom, but you will never hit that rock bottom until you die. And when you die, you can just die in peace, and you can just rest in peace.
That's an interesting way to say it.
I think there's just so much pressure with like the self-care industry to get into fitness and get into health and get into healthy eating, when it's really just being in touch with your body, and being grateful that I got arms to fling around here, and being able to dance to good music, and
being able to conversate.
Just stop moving.
And do you think like between like younger Zhai to now, do you feel do you feel like you had that same, do you have the same priorities of like, oh, physical self-love is the way to...
No. I never really cared about like the physical image. a lot of kids are insecure about, especially a lot of girls are insecure about their body image.
Yeah.
I was always insecure about personality wise, like I need to be special, I needed to be unique, I need to have some sort of storyline. So yeah, like I never really thought about the whole body thing. Like I never really thought about the physical thing until much later, like the start of my 20s and stuff.
Was there something that happened, or not necessarily that happened, but was there like a switch on moment where you're like, hey, you know what, this is like the way I can hack into my journey of self-love?
I did have a friend who introduced me to like weightlifting. He did like powerlifting, and I saw how a lot of people like come out of like depression through gym and exercise. And I tried it out for myself, and yeah, it's definitely like it's worked.
Okay.
While that's the first step, I don't think it's
the whole step.
The whole step, and it's very like a very tiny first step.
Yeah.
And definitely the mental thing. Like I agree with you. It's all like willpower.
When I think about like physical self-love, for example, me being a big girl, and I've talked about this in my other episode of body image and stuff, body positivity, growing up, when you are certain, when that's been like something that has been called out in your life, it's really hard for you to see that as a way into self-love, because like the world is telling you your body isn't enough, so you're just like, okay, so what can I really love about myself? And maybe that's why I prioritize mental health, because I feel like if I didn't hack into my mental health or my mental self-love, then I wouldn't be able to get to a point where now I can say I'm comfortable with my body, I'm comfortable to even go to the gym and stuff. Because there's some people that when you look a certain way that doesn't fit the norm, then it's really hard for you to get into that mindset of like, I physically
self-love, get me. Self-care or self-love is often like associated, when it comes to physical sense anyways, always associated with like fitness or like a body image and stuff like that. But when I think of like physical self-love, that's the awareness and knowledge of your actual body. When you study about the body and like you do go to therapy or you learn about gut health and food, I think self-love has a lot to do with self-awareness. It's not like I love myself. Like
Self-awareness is definitely related with self-love, because like true self-love, because someone could be like, oh, I'm really that, that, you know what I'm saying?
Like, I'm feeling myself.
But it's like, are you though?
This might be a little bit opposite from like the traditional way of looking at self-love, but usually when people think of self-love, it's like, oh, find the things that you like about yourself, find the things to celebrate about yourself. But for me, identifying what you don't like, being in that rut, is actually an opportunity. That's your body and your mind and your soul telling you how you're living right now. It doesn't match with what you want in life. If you're in a bad relationship, for example, and you're getting like depressed and stuff, that in itself is your higher self saying like, hey, love yourself, this is an opportunity to grow, to identify this. So I'm really big on like adversity helps you grow.
I think all your feelings are valid in terms of like whether they're bad or good or whatever, because there's such a thing as toxic positivity as well.
Yeah, of course.
Which is like, I think what you were saying, like the traditional sense of self-love, where people are just like,
that was me. Actually, you remember like I guess around the time we first met, when I was doing YouTube and stuff, I was so like uppity, and I would always just force people to be happy and like live your best life, go big or go home. And now I'm like, go big or go home. Like I want to go home.
Oh my god, it's up to you. It's up to you.
That was a facade. That was like there to hide all this baggage, you know. And I was lying not only to people but to myself as well. Like just that constant denial of that baggage. And that's where toxic positivity comes from. You know, but then now everyone who knows me and has seen like that growth can feel the peace, can feel the balance. Like I'm like, okay now, like you get to an equilibrium. It's very rewarding. See, the thing is with emotional and intellectual, I think they go hand in hand. You need to have emotional intelligence, period, to have self-awareness, and to have emotional intelligence. It's again making that decision to learn about yourself, discover yourself. What does your body do? What does your mind do? stuff like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will be like, emotions and like intellectuals are two different sides of your brain. I feel like they complement each other. What without the other, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. How do you think society perceives self-love?
Capitalism. For real. Candles, what? Self-care, sure. Buy that, okay?
Well,
my lashes right now, what? Self-care, buy that.
But they're looking good.
Like, I'm sorry, but like, it is to make, there's such a huge market for self-love and self-care. People forget that it's the action, it's the, it's a habit that you form for yourself, not in what you consume. For society now, self-love is just an industry.
Ooh, I believe that, and I think that's so related to like even the movies thing. They're obviously, it's marketing. It's like marketing.
Like,
wow.
We know that people long for these emotions, or people long to be understood or can relate, and so society makes money out of it. Wow. And I'm not socialist, by the way. Like, I'm not trying to be like, oh yeah, we should be a communist or whatever. But it's facts. Like, self-care is an industry.
An
industry.
It kind of reminds me of this thing I recently spoke to my friend Deborah, actually. Shout out to Deborah if you're watching this. She mentioned this to me literally a few days ago, how she recently found out online, social platforms, they obviously have an algorithm, right? And there was like a leak or like an uncovering of how certain ads and stuff that we get online, sometimes like you won't even realize, you haven't even looked up anything to do with dieting or something, and you get all these random ads that are about dieting or losing weight and things like that. And they found that statistically, like, when people have these things pop up, basically it forces people to be more like self-conscious, and obviously may trigger things like depression and things like that, and then it forces them to scroll longer, and obviously scroll longer means you go through the ads more, which makes money for free platforms.
I'm a social media marketer on the side. It's like targeting audiences. You target audiences from different demographics, and you know what they're like. You can search up, so on Facebook ads you can do stacked interests. So I only want to target people who like this thing but also like this thing, or who like this thing but not this thing. Like, it's very, very specific. Again, just making money out of
people's
of how we are, how we're built. That's why it's very important to step into self-love or self-care, self-awareness by yourself. Like, it's good to have feelers and, like, look things up, watch your favorite YouTuber, or like, read a book or something. But just take each little thing and then reflect. Reflect on it and form something meaningful for yourself and what will work for you. Because you need to be aware that these are making money out of you.
So our takeaways from today, I can tell you what my takeaway is. Like, something that stuck with me, I'll start it off, is how you said self-love is an action. Like, how it's treated as an action, like loving yourself. It's a continuous thing that happens. It's not a destination. It's an action. I really felt that, and I feel like that's, if anything, I hope y'all take away from that. And exactly what you said now, it's all attached with self-awareness, and you need to be self-aware more than anything. I've said this, y'all, going through the motions of lockdown and things like that, I hope people, if anything, if you use that time to reflect and be okay with facing whatever thoughts or whatever things you might find. You have to take all parts of you as it is.
Even though you didn't elaborate on the whole physical side, it still made me realize that everyone is, again, going through their own journeys. You remove your ego and you're like, I know nothing at all. You're just open to understanding and open to empathy and all that. And so that's my takeaway from this conversation, is that everyone does this differently, and everyone's gone through their own experience.
We'll wrap it up here then, y'all, because this was a very interesting chat. And Zhai, thank you again for coming on my segment.
I really appreciate it. It was an honor
to be here
in the presence of Milena.
Thanks. I learned a lot. Thank you for sharing your story. We love to hear it, and I hope y'all found comfort in this. I genuinely did, and I felt like, I felt honored that you were able to feel comfortable enough to share. If Zhai's story made y'all feel anything, just like we love to hear your comments below. If y'all were able to tell us your takeaways from today's chat and your journeys of self-love. I would love to hear it.
Also, if you are going through anything, you can always hit me up. I don't even need to know you. You can be a complete stranger, but if you need someone to listen to you, just DM me.
Well, actually, that's a good segue. Do you want to plug?
Okay, it will be on the description below because my name is very complicated to spell, but it's just Zara Charles, which is my name.
All right, I'll put it in the description or somewhere on the screen as well. I am Milena B, sending you love and light. Until my next video, we out.
That's strong.
That was strong.
Your